For our next session, we have a superb one. We have a full house, and we've got a great moderator to make it all happen. It's going to be about EU blockchain ecosystems shaping Europe's digital future. And I'm delighted to welcome to the stage Hoda Barakat, the International Association for the Protection of Intellectual Property in the UAE. Hoda, the stage is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for the kind intro, and thank you for the Global Tourism Forum for inviting me to moderate this amazing panel. Without further ado, if I can ask my panelists, please, to join me on stage. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have an extremely distinguished panel, which I'm very honored to moderate. We're going to be talking to you about the EU blockchain ecosystem, shaping Europe's digital future. It's obviously an amazingly interesting space, particularly at the moment, pretty much in every sector. I just thought maybe, as such we're in Dubai, it's quite good to ground us a little bit and just give you some input about what Dubai is doing. And I will keep it very short because I'd like you to hear it from the experts rather than from me. So in April 2018, the UAE came up with the Emirates Blockchain Strategy 2021 because they identified that that is the future. And if you've spent any time here, you can see we have very visionary leaders who look very much to the future all the time. In early March 2022, so only like a couple of weeks ago, His Highness introduced the Dubai Virtual Asset Regulation Law to basically regulate, license, and govern pretty much any digital assets. So again, very forward-looking. If we move to what our panel will be talking to you about, so the EU Blockchain Observatory has already said that most EU countries do not have a holistic regulatory or legislative framework. So we are in a world, I guess, where things are moving very dynamically, very quickly, and our panelists will be talking to you about their experiences. I'll let them introduce themselves one by one. I'll just start with, we'll start from the far side, Dr. Michael Gerbert, Chairman of the European Blockchain Association. Please, Michael, if you could just tell us a couple of words about yourself.
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting us and being part of this fabulous event. What we've seen so far is, of course, tremendously important, not only for the industry, but also for possibly decentralized world. So we, as a European Blockchain Association, are not only humbled to be there, but also to see also the activities done and driven by Her Highness the Sheikh and what he's doing here. It's a fabulous place to be at the moment, as always. So the European Blockchain Association is structured as a decentralized, semi-autonomous organization. What does it mean? It means that all our members are driven by a common governance model, which is more or less a code of conduct. And we represent over 27 member states in Europe with a couple of hundred members, who are all eagerly developing blockchain as their possible future integration for their industries and businesses from the very practical side. The other part of our work is, of course, regulatory issues, especially with the European Commission and the European Parliament in Brussels. As you might know, not only blockchain is evolving industries like the tourism industry, but also more or less the financial industry is kind of in a total shakeout at the moment. And blockchain and decentralization and future centralized money in terms of a decentralized form is more or less coming. And therefore it is very, very important for us as a European Blockchain Association to put our finger on education on an executive level and also on an education on a universal level. And this is what we do. We educate throughout a network of universities with executives and specialists in all 27 member countries what blockchain is all about, what blockchain could be, and also diversify the usage and integration of blockchain into industry sectors. So I think we can contribute a little bit of our knowledge and our experience into the tourism world, and would of course be very, very glad to stimulate that conversation in the future with us as an organization.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Jason Liu, who is the co-founder and CEO of BitForex. If you could just tell us a little bit, please, Jason.
Thank you very much. It's really such an honor and pleasure to be here. And as a BitForex, we are a cryptocurrency exchange. We started since 2017. Now it's serving more than 6 million registered users. So I mean this is my first time in Dubai, and this is my first time able to share my ideas and my thoughts about the blockchain, about how are we able to benefit these industries. So I'm really looking forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. Next, we have Mr. José Ramón Bauzá, who is a member of the European Parliament.
Yes, thank you so much, and thank you very much for this invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Let me introduce briefly what I've been doing related with tourism. I am a member of the European Parliament. I'm a coordinator for Transparent Tourism, my liberal group, and I have as well the part of my responsibility as well related with foreign affairs, that you know how important is today, linked foreign affairs situation with the tourism issue. And as well, I co-chair in the tourism task force, the TTF. This is one of the parts related to the committee that is specifically involved in promoting and to give the real opportunity that the tourism have in Europe, because even if you don't know, tourism is yes, a part of the, how to say, that issue that some people used to fly and to enjoy, but they don't spend and they don't care as much as we are nowadays with the tourism. As well, my previous life, I am former president for the Balearic Islands. This, you know, is a very interesting and important destination for tourism, and I had the opportunity to see as well my very good friend, Dr. Talib Rafael, that we have spent many years working together in the tourism sector. And related to the blockchain, I think we had the opportunity through the European institutions in order to create a friendly, European-friendly zone for the blockchain, because everything is changing, not every day, but every minute, and we have the opportunity from the legislation to give the much opportunity that we have to this kind of sector. And finally, blockchain is related with almost everything that we see every day related to tourism. Can you imagine that when we all fly, the worst thing that can happen to us is to lose our luggage? You fly, you spend not only one day, but even for holidays 1 week, and you lose your luggage. Thanks to the blockchains, this can be avoided. Then let's think how blockchain can help us in every single chain of our tourism industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jose. Last but certainly not least, Mr. Ismail ErtuG, who is a member of the European Parliament also. Please.
Yes, also thank you very much for the invitation. It's a big pleasure and an honor to be here. Interesting topic, by the way, to match blockchain together with tourism. We as policymakers, I think we are, or let me say the other way around, the industry is ahead of the politician and the policymakers. Therefore, I'm very happy to share this panel and this event with such important experts. What I would like to say is, when you look into the different sectors of industry, you see that blockchain is already in use. I was totally surprised to see which different sectors are already in use. If it's ticketing or luggage or many other things already use this kind of blockchain. But what is missing in my eyes is, and when we talk about the European Union, maybe we have to explain a little bit without going into the very difficult deep. The European Union has not only the European Parliament. We as policymakers, we are on the one hand side, and on the other hand side, we are the representative. We have the representative of the 27 member states, and both institutions are able to make legislation. And as you can imagine, 27 member states, 705 MEPs on the other hand side, how difficult that sometimes is and can be. But nevertheless, we have to go on in the European Union. We did several issues. We did some steps in the future. Dr. Gebert already mentioned one of them, the observatory. But where we have a big lack, and this is maybe the final sentence in my introduction, is we have a lack of education. And literacy all around the European Union, and I would really propose that the public should or could start with this blockchain in order to show the people that there is a trustworthy technology there. And this is just one idea, but I'm really happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Just to kind of start us, I mean, blockchain, it's a word that everybody uses nowadays. But the reality is, unfortunately, very few of us actually understand. What do you do what does each of you do, and in the organizations that you work for, what do you do to make consumers understand the importance of the digital future and the importance of blockchain to that digital future? If we could just start with you, Michael, and then maybe the rest of the colleagues.
Sure. I would like to ask you, as a controversy question, of course,
sure,
we
please.
need to understand blockchain in order to use it. Because if you compare blockchain to the use of money, nobody really understands how money is working at the moment. You use it for granted and you use it, and you rely on trust. So the common denominator between blockchain and money at the moment is trust. And I think if you go back to that level of experience, that trust is needed in order to do things and to have interaction successfully ended or stimulated. This is, I think, the starting point where we always try to educate about blockchain. We say distract the understanding from what you really want blockchain to be, because blockchain is so immersive, so versatile, and so variable in its instances that you really can use a trustworthy relationship in many manners. One could be tracking, of course, of luggage. The other one could be tracking of food, as we have seen with President Hollande. So a lot of things can happen with blockchain. But I think the common denominator is if there is a trustworthy relationship that cannot be destroyed by default because it's written on this chain, then it is ground from there to build up relations and businesses. And from the tourism side, of course, it means everything where data is in place, and tourism is a lot of data in place. Where data is in place, trust is in place. And therefore, this is a common denominator, because blockchain therefore could be or will be a solution. Because all other solutions that are centralized are by default not trustworthy.
Thank you very much. Jason?
Yes. So that's actually speaking about the blockchain, I would like to separate into two parts. One is a blockchain technology. One is a cryptocurrency. I think it should be separate. For the blockchain itself, it definitely can benefit on the institutions. It's going to reshape everybody how you do the business, how you communicate with people. And to be honest, I totally agree with Michael, education is very important. Because in the blockchain industries, things happening so fast. We started business since 2017. We have been seeing so many projects, so many different concepts, IEO, ICO, IDO, and Metaverse, NFTs. Those are so many concepts. You need to keep learning it. You keep understanding about it. And I think the reason why currently so many people or institutions or companies that do not fully understand about blockchain is that maybe because this industry is very new. It haven't fully implemented into our real life. We haven't really accepted it. But I think it's going to be very soon. A lot of the companies, a lot of the industries starting to embrace it. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jason. José?
Well, the problem, not the problem, but the real fact of the blockchain is something absolutely new, but really new, because you can imagine we are the legislature, what we are in the European Parliament, and you suppose we have to know everything that is happening right now and the last 5 minutes. But blockchain is happening in the next 5 seconds. And how can we legislate something that we still really don't know how it's managing? That's the main important thing from the perspective of European institutions is to, Michael has said, is to trust, to give trust to people. Even not older people, but people who is not too young as we are, they don't know absolutely about blockchain. Maybe they think it's a new series that they can see on the TV. But blockchain is changing every single minute. And what we have to do from the European institution is to promote and give knowledge, and we have different observatories. For example, we have in Europe, we have the European Blockchain Observatory and Forum, who is financed by European institutions, in fact, by European Parliament. As well, we have another program, which is financed by Erasmus+. Both of them are linked and related to promote the knowledge and give trust. But it is a question not only of giving this knowledge and the, how to say, the juridical structure, but even to work every day to help people to know what it is. And we have to be one of the first users, as for example, Dubai is one of the most important, one of the first countries in the world who is using it, and we have this possibility to lead the blockchain initiatives in Europe, as we should do as European institutions.
Thank you very much. Ismail?
Yes, the question was what we do or what we did already on the European level. We have around 770 different blockchain initiatives on EU level or member states level. So that shows that there's also a serious number of initiatives already there. What we are doing is, as always, European Union giving subsidies. The most people all around the European Union on member states level, when they hear Brussels, the first thing what came in their mind is money. Yeah, the European Union should give them some money. We do this, we have done that, and we will do that in the future. We have a budget that's called Horizon 2020. For example, between 2016 and 2019, the European Union, we have financed around 180 million euro for this kind of blockchain research and innovation. And what was ongoing on European Union level is that the European Commission, the third institution on the European Union level, which is the executive, we are trying to build up some kind of gold standard for blockchain, which constitutes of environmental sustainability, data protection. When it comes to data protection, for example, we did important legislation in the last weeks and months. For example, the Digital Markets Act has been concluded 2 days ago in Brussels. So we have a clear target when it comes from the European Commission side in order to set the gold standard, because the European Union, we have values, we have experiences based on 80 years of after the Second World War, the experience after the Second World War, and that's the reason why we named it gold standard, and on this direction, on this way we are proceeding.
Thank you very much. Now, we talked about understanding or lack of it, lack of the need to understand or whatever, and we talked about regulation as well. So regulation is obviously important, but how do you balance between the need for regulation and over-regulation? It's a very fine line. If I could just ask, maybe again, I mean, I don't want to bore the audience with just going in a line, but I think you're each giving a very different perspective, so I think it's really important to hear. Michael, if you could just start by giving us your input.
Sure. You know, I think it's about positioning in the first place. How do different regional entities position themselves when it comes to regulatory approaches? We've seen it in Europe in a very diverse way. On the one hand, of course, the European Union with 27 plus Israel plus Switzerland, with naming rights in there, but also countries like Liechtenstein, for example, are having a sandbox regulatory approach that is quite interesting because they do it totally 180 degrees like the European Commission is normally doing it. They're providing basically a playbook, and out of this playbook things can develop. It supports a little bit more the dynamics of the industry, of course. The other way around would be to set rules, and within the rules you can play. But for us, of course, it would be more interesting to have not a rule set that is already defining the borders and limitations for an, per definition, unlimited possibility realm, right? So this is the first thing. The other thing about regulation is combining it maybe also with the last question is that blockchain and trust and regulation is also interfered by artificial intelligence decision making. I know it's a totally different topic, but it comes into interference more and more often as we see it. Which means that we as human beings, when it comes to blockchain and trusting and regulation, can just rely on what we defined, but we cannot really argue how it was defined. So the how it was defined is more often more important on what it is defined, which means that we have now to really focus on a common denominator when it comes to regulation. And within that framework, we have to be clear there always works around regulation. And one of those examples I always try to give is the country of Estonia. It's a small country, it's part of the European Union, and they are kind of a little bit the front runners, I would say, when it comes to digitalization, also integration of self-sovereign identity issues on the blockchain. And they have proven that if the people within the country are part of the movement in terms of education, trust, and also, of course, implementation, to make it as easy as possible, then these people and these participants are willing to contribute.
Sure.
And out of this, normally a revolution arises.
So you get buy-in from the people.
Right.
Just, I think it'd be interesting to hear from the European Union perspective. How do you, again, it's this regulate, but don't over-regulate. How do you walk that very tight rope?
You know, at the beginning, mostly of the European legislature, we actually don't know as deep are the people who is involved in it, how really deep is the sense of the blockchain. But in my opinion, what we have to do is to give the possibility to have common standards and as well to develop a common infrastructure. For example, from the European Parliament as well, we are working with 27 member states, but as well with 2 more, not from the European Parliament, but as well in Europe, that is Norway and Liechtenstein. We're working together in order to create our own Pan-American frame in order to develop the mostly standards approved, and as well to give people the opportunity to think that, as we told at the beginning, that trust is the main important thing, and we have to give step forwards in order to give as much knowledge as we can. And it's absolutely important as well to know that blockchain is investment and tourism is investment. We need as well that, for example, Dubai is the country that how many different countries, different companies for worldwide are investing here because they trust it's a safe place and they have certainly that the investment will be fine and they finally will get the benefits. What we had to do as well in Europe is to give trust people and investment, not only business investment, but as well for give certainly to the users, to the customer, as well to everyone, all the European citizens that are starting. Some of them, they are in front of the blockchain development, and they have to come into the train to lead this possibility. And as we said, we need to regulate it at the beginning, maybe a little bit, in order not to control, but to give trust.
Sure.
And if we do it together, later we can hold their hand, but not straight them. Just go by them step by step forward.
Thank you very much. We'll just hear maybe a little bit more from you, Ismail, about what the European Parliament is planning. And then actually I'd like to hear from Jason from the other side, as an exchange, the sort of regulation and challenges you faced. Please, Ismail.
To be honest, there is always a risk of over-regulation when you ask policymakers, because that's by nature is our issue. We want to make some legislation, but what is important to know is that only the European Commission has the right to come forward with a proposal, but then they are out, and both other institutions, as I said, Parliament and the Council, they have the right to legislate in the end. But sorry for saying that, and I don't think that we are on a level of over-regulation, in particular on blockchain issues. As long as one CEO and we all know this CEO is also constructing electric cars. If one CEO is able to manipulate with one tweet the price or the worth of a cryptocurrency, we cannot speak that this sector is overregulated. This is for sure in my eyes. But as I said, in the future, we have to go alongside this. We have to set the gold standard. We as the European Union, we are the economically strongest region in the world, and we have clear visions. We had, as I told you, several decisions already taken earlier this week, but we have to take care of many issues. Also, the energy consumption issue is, for example, coming more and more up. The people are recognizing, oh, yeah, this is really, really consuming energy. And what are they doing there, in particular of mining and these kind of things? Therefore, we as policymakers, we have to guarantee that this technology shouldn't be misused by less non-serious persons, but at the same time, we have to show the people and show the public that within this technology there are so many leverages, so many positive aspects on safety and other issues, as already mentioned, that this is worth to go into this way.
Thank you very much. Jason, from the other side of the table.
This is a really interesting question for me. Firstly, I'm originally from China, and we are a cryptocurrency exchange. And I was giving a speech at Davos too regarding this kind of STO. China is fully against on the cryptocurrencies, but there are various parties on the blockchain technologies development. As an exchange, we're facing a lot of the questions: how are we going to do all the compliance? How are we able to face all the global users? And how are we going to regulate all the project and the user itself, which is using our platforms? And I think I would like to talk about more focusing on the Europe, which is Switzerland. It's about the STO. Back then, I think Switzerland is one of the earliest countries to supporting on the institutions level of the blockchain and cryptocurrencies. But I think that time is in 2018. All the infrastructure is not ready. All the smart contract, all the different countries and regions regulations, all the understanding about the blockchain and cryptocurrency is not ready yet. But at the current stage, at the current market status, it's totally different. We have the DeFi, we have DAO, we have those institution levels audit companies who do all the smart contract audit. So I mean that's compared to do a full regulations to each blockchain project or companies. Blockchain is really small industries or market cap. If you base on this small market cap or industry, you want to have another regulated to make it smaller of the potential users or potential communities, then how is this community able to grow? So I think in the near futures, I hope it will be at an institution level or government level institutions to do the audit of the smart contract. And then based on this smart contract, the company is able to provide a full decentralized service. And as a centralized platform to provide and distribute your product to all the audience. Yes, I think that's the beauty of the decentralized and the centralized as a semi-decentralized way to promote and grow the market.
Thank you very much. Michael.
In that case, maybe, because you see it gets very technical instantly. And for some leaders, it is at a certain point harder to follow. What we have done there is, for example, for our organization, it is a semi-autonomous, decentralized organization, which for most of the leaders is not understandable. For you instantly, of course, because you know it is not a real rulership, but it is a decentralization of decision-making, which makes you very fast, which makes you very agile, and which makes you versatile on any changes over time. But it is led by a governance model. And for us, our understanding, we now do that 5 years, it could be the future of corporations, because it gives you a very, very eager approach of hearing to your customers and everybody involved in the organization on the one hand, but also gives you a very good outside approach on what is going on in the world and integrate that innovation speed within your organization fast forward. And I think these are very interesting benchmarks for decision makers on why they should integrate blockchain technology within their systems.
Thank you very much. I'm conscious we have about 10 minutes left, and I would like to give the audience a chance to ask some questions, please.
Thank you.
If we could just give this gentleman a mic, please. This one, right behind you. Thank you. If you could just identify who the question is for, please.
I just want to ask something about governments. Because in the European Union, not all governments are adopting blockchain. Why are some governments against blockchain? Is it because of lack of regulation? Or is it over-regulation? I thought you don't need any regulation. But governments have taken a position against blockchain. Some governments, some central banks, some banks even are against blockchain. Could somebody explain that to us? Thank you.
Thank you. If we could ask one of our European Parliament colleagues.
When I got it right, the question was why some member states or governments or leaderships are against. I think it's a mixture. First of all, as Dr. Gebert said, they don't have a clue about blockchain at all, to be honest. Yeah? They don't know what it is and where are the advantages. And I think this is the main reason for them. And also it depends on the sectors behind or even in the industry. You have to talk to the people, you have to talk to the lawmakers, you have to describe and explain in particular the positive sides, and the potential negative sides has to be also mentioned and wrote down in a legislation how that could be prevented. And if this is clear to all the leaders all around the European Union, I'm sure this would run. But even if the leaders are not really in favor of this, the experts all around, they will push them towards a regulation, but it has to be balanced in the end. This is my firm belief, and the European Union, as, how can I say, the roof or the frame, they are going on. And the European Commission, with all the experts, they are pushing the member states for a legislation. With a regulation, as legally not to go into the deep, but with the regulation, you have to apply or to fulfill one-to-one this legislation on European level and national legislation. Whereas when it's a directive, the member states, they have the right to make some adjustments. Therefore, for these kind of things, I would clearly recommend to come up with a proposal, with a regulation from the European Commission side.
Thank you very much. Yes, please, José.
Just to add something, blockchain is an opportunity, it's a challenge. And if Europe don't see it, we lose time and we lose the competitiveness with other regions, like, for example, we are in the Middle East. It's so important that the leaders of each member state take care about what is happening. And they should be very well advisor for people around him in order to do the best and not to lose the train. We have a very important opportunity. It hasn't to be seen as a threat, but it has to be seen as an opportunity, as a challenge. And this is the main important thing. And it's so important as well, and you invest in tourism and we elaborate laws, that we have to go together forward. The private sector as well, the public institution. It's so important, and give trust. There is, for example, an institution, there's an international association for trusted blockchain application. This is the way to go together and lead. But if the leaders of each member state don't go forward and take the flag and say, follow me and let's go together, Europe will lose an opportunity and somebody will be seen as a threat when we have a challenge.
Thank you. I think, Michael, you have a quick...
Maybe to that point also, it is a very good point, and basically we did a study together with the University of Helsinki regarding where are the hinder points when it comes to implementation. execution when it comes to blockchain. And the three factors were fear of change, fear of implementation time, and fear of money invest. And basically, so it's time, money, and change that puts in. When we ask, how can we solve the problem, the answer was always education.
Thank you.
So it comes back to what we talked.
Absolutely. Thank you. The lady.
So much, because I am a former MEP and I know very well how we do legislation in Brussels. And yes, the proposal will come from the European Commission, but you know, the initiative, should come from the European Commission. But we have the European Parliament, and the European Parliament duty is to represent the interest of the European citizens and also the interest of the businesses. And specific to transport and tourism, we have the obligation to develop this industry and to give support to this industry. And we know, unfortunately, that is not receiving enough money from the European Union and even enough political support. In the same time, we have the blockchain industry, which is huge, it's important, but it's one step in front of everything. It's evolving very quickly. So we can't wait for all the administrative, bureaucratic things to happen in Brussels. So that's why, because you, me, and many others, MEPs, we know to be proactive. It's also and we are more connected with the business sector, as you are, and I know that you are. Maybe to come with a own initiative report in the European Parliament and to create awareness of the necessity of regulating this system. But also, this is very important, to have not more regulation, but a regulation that will offer the possibility to the blockchain industry to evolve, to create revenues, to assure more investment. That you know that this is the most important advantage in this new type of making investment that has such a big multiplication level that will go directly to our economies, directly to tourism, directly to transport. And these two sectors, tourism, travel, transportation, can be so well connected with the blockchain industry because it's so simple. And you need connected transport. You need a connected market for this. And you have now the possibility using cryptocurrency to make this a system. And that's why I think that might be also the initiative of the European Parliament to come with the proposal and to, let's say, fasten the process.
Thank you very much. I don't think it needs a response because I think you articulated a lot of issues very, very well. So
I just need to hope that I will have the support of my former colleagues and that
you have thumbs up.
This thing might happen.
You have your thumbs up. If we could we need to bring this, unfortunately, to a close, although a very interesting discussion. If I could just ask each of you, please, what would you like to see in the immediate future? If you could just give us that as your parting thought. Maybe we'll start this side. Ismail, would you like to share your view?
Was me,
yes, please.
I thought about this happens when a former MEP becomes a stakeholder later in the industry. You know, she knows what's going on in the parliament, but she's right. Yes, my vision, to be honest. This is as Ramon said, we are different regions in the world. Yeah, the European Union, as I always say, we are the economically strongest region, but we sometimes lose speed, and we also lose some competition against other regions, because other regions they are faster in apply to the new situations, new things in world, in life. My wish is, as I said, set the gold standard for this technology, coming driven by the European Union, setting the standards. At the same time, for sure, having the experts in the European Union. But it's a competition, I know, but in the end, we are on one planet, and we have to work together with all the other regions. And if we are working all together, I think this should also would save our life in the future of all of us.
Thank you very much. We have a minute 20, just a few words from each of you, please, as your vision and kind of
Yes.
parting words.
Blockchain has to be seen as an opportunity, as a challenge, never as a threat. We are here private sector and public one. We need the private sector in order to help the politicians to think what is really happening, because Ismail and me, and Celia, we know what it is, but not all of the politicians knows. And please, hand that, let's work together, because if we are not in the private sector and the public together, we will lose an opportunity and other regions will take advantage of that.
Thank you very much. Jason.
Well, I think the revolutions have already came. You don't understand it, or you are not ready for it. Maybe it's you haven't really studied or understand about it. The Europe have already going to issue the Europe cash, digital cash, in 2025, and combined with this metaverse concept, I think this is going to totally change the tourism industry, revolutionary. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
So my wish basically would be maybe to look into something like Expo 2020, 192 countries peacefully together presenting themselves and really looking at the sustainability goals, mobility, sustainability, and everything that can be possibly done together. And blockchain is an underlying technology. Using that and this leverage and this positivism seen nowadays in Dubai for the last couple of days, I think would be my wish to prosper in the future.
Thank you so much, Michael. Our time is up, but I will just repeat some key words that I took away. Work together, opportunity, education, and trust. Some very key words. I thank you all. Very definitely, I feel like I've learned a lot, so much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.